Framed by a haven of sycamore trees and gorgeous landscapes, Turnbull Canyon is a 4-mile loop trail located near Whittier, California, and is a part of the Puente Hills Preserve. A quiet respite from the hustle and bustle of nearby Los Angeles, one would think the canyon was a place for rejuvenation and reflection. But that assumption would be, sadly, far off the mark, because Turnbull Canyon is home to more than a few local legends, tragedies, and ghostly residents. In the early Spanish colonial period, several Tongva Native Americans would become the first in a series of reported deaths in the canyon, as they were supposedly put to death for rebelling against the Spanish and Franciscan friars at the nearby Mission San Gabriel. This would result in the canyon being given the fitting nickname Hotuka, which translates to the place of darkness or death. Turnbull Canyon was named after the Scottish immigrant Robert Turnbull after his purchase of the canyon from Quaker businessmen in the 1870s. A decade later, he would sell the canyon back to the Quakers for an undisclosed profit. Feeling on top of the world for his smart investment, Turnbull felt nothing could go wrong. But his luck would prove short-lived, as shortly after the sale of the canyon, he would be suspiciously murdered in town, a murder that would go unsolved. From that moment on, the canyon would be referred to as Turnbull Canyon. Oil exploration and drilling would creep into the canyon in the late 1890s, and in November of 1900, 2 oil men would be chased out of the canyon by 2 large cougars, which has been widely believed as foreshadowing of the terrifying events that would plague Turnbull Canyon. Since then, the canyon has developed a truly strange set of legends, some unproven, reserved to campfire tales, and some which, unfortunately and horrifyingly, are very much true. One of the most popular reports of eerie occurrences surrounding Turnbull Canyon is that of the Native American spirits said to haunt the land. In the 1840s, Turnbull Canyon, much like most of the land in California, faced numerous conflicts over ownership of land rights, as the land at the time belonged to Mexico, and the United States was in a constant battle to annex it. A turning point came in 1945, when a group of Europeans and Americans, led by William Workman, joined forces with Pio Pico in his fight against Governor Manuel Miquel Turina in the Battle of Cahuenga Pass during the Mexican-American War. After his victory, Pio Pico would be appointed the governor of Alta California and awarded William Workman 49,000 acres of land, which included Turnbull Canyon. Workman did not get along with the Gabrielino tribal people of the area, who were the canyon's original inhabitants. Upon the announcement of the land being appointed to Workman, and even before he claimed the land, Spanish conquistadors invaded the land in brutal fashion. They attacked, shooting tribesmen who valiantly attempted to defend the tribe's women and children. Given the tragic history of the canyon, it is said that many of the spirits of the Gabrielino tribe continue to haunt the land, angry, defiant, and prepared to chase out anyone who attempts to enter the canyon. And for those who do, they come back with terrifying tales of yells, screams, and battle cries of the tribesmen, and the conquistadors trapped in the eternal land war so many years later, echoed by the further claims of the beat of war drums resounding through the canyon. As we tackle the ghostly legends of the canyon, we have to come back to its namesake, Robert Turnbull. Turnbull was a shepherd when he made the move to California with the hopes of making a living in real estate investment in 1873. The first plot of land he purchased was located in the city of Los Angeles, near the Macy Street Bridge, which has since been renamed to the Cesar Chavez Bridge. Not long after Turnbull arrived in California, he gained a reputation as the town drunk, with numerous reports from those he did business with, and even from his close friends, that they had never seen him completely sober. It would be his drunkenness that would prove to be his downfall and led to his eventual murder. In 1875, the economic status of California was terrible, and with the reports that the owners of the Temple Workman Bank, which saw our old friend William Workman as co-owner, were extremely poorly managing their business, and soon found themselves unable to service the townspeople and fulfill their demands. The bank would close its doors in January of 1876, with plans to foreclose quickly set into motion. A mere matter of days later, William Workman sadly ended his own life. Robert Turnbull would soon after be appointed to an advisory committee that was attempting to return the money to the townspeople. This decision of appointment came from Turnbull's many business connections, which allowed him to purchase land for cheap. He bought the canyon because it was a great place for him to raise the flock of sheep he owned for wool, which led to lucrative profits. In 1885, two Quaker men by the names of Akia Pickering and Jonathan Bailey found themselves in California on a search for new land on which to start a new colony. They were successful in purchasing the land surrounding the canyon and approached Turnbull in the hopes of purchasing the land within the canyon as well. The man sought out the canyon and were very interested in the land and the active stream that ran through it. Their request, however, was summarily refused by Robert Turnbull. However, the Quaker pair were not so easily discouraged and would continue to approach Turnbull with offers and would time and time again be refused for 2 years. Until finally, in June of 1887, when they would once again appeal to Turnbull and present their highest bid to date, $30,000, which proved to be an offer Turnbull had no choice but to accept. A mere 6 months later, in January of 1888, Robert Turnbull spent the evening, as he spent numerous others, drinking. On this fateful night, however, on his way back home, he fell from his horse. The incident was reported to police, and he was arrested for public intoxication. The following morning, he returned to his home, somehow beaten and blood-soaked. He claimed he could not recall what had led to his condition and had no memory of any altercations having taken place. As a result of these mysterious injuries, Turnbull suffered a brain aneurysm, which, as detailed by the town coroner's report, was the result of a blow to the head. It would be this aneurysm that would cause his fatal fall from the Macy Bridge, a mere matter of miles from the very first plot of land that he had purchased. Such a cruel twist of irony, as his life would end nearly precisely where his life in California had begun. His body was later discovered in the LA River, and initially it appeared a cut-and-dry case of a terrible drunken accident. However, it would quickly be determined after the completion of an autopsy that Turnbull's death was no accident. The blow to the head was discovered to not have been the result of a fall, but the blow to the head was instead caused by repeated lashings from a blunt object. Robert Turnbull had been murdered. But who would want to kill the real estate mogul? That is a debate that rages on today, and a mystery that remains unsolved. It would appear, however, that Robert Turnbull has not been able to find peace and be at rest, as several witnesses have reported to seeing a drunken man stumbling along the canyon, and when they attempt to help the man, he simply vanishes right before their eyes.
And now a word from our sponsors.
VENATOS
is in our hands. It's left to us, guys. And we gotta do something with it.
Anyone who's been a part of the Press Start family for any amount of time knows that I truly appreciate and value the relationship that I have with today's sponsor, VENATOS. They are truly an outstanding company with great quality products that I can truly get behind and put my stamp of approval on. Their customer service is absolutely hands down some of the best on the marketplace. If you reach out to them for any reason, your emails are typically responded to within hours, not days, hours. And not only do they promise to make it right, they promise to make it better. And as a thank you for your support, they are offering a 10% discount on any orders if you use the code PressStartMom at checkout. They do ship internationally, including Canada, and 100% stand by the quality of their products. And so do I. Thank you, VENATOS, for sponsoring this video, and thank you to all of you for checking out VENATOS. Let's get back to the video.
N04C from present position to Downey radio beacon, cruise at least 500 on top. Descend using a visual flight rules plan, cross Downey and maintain 3,000 feet. Contact Los Angeles approach control over La Habra, no delay expected.
Copy that, tower.
The sun is quietly nestled into the peaks of Turnbull Canyon. The luscious land holds an undeniable beauty, with a gentle breeze surrounding and enveloping you as you take in the breathtaking view. It's a scene so peaceful. One would never imagine the deep sadness of the tragedy that would strike the canyon on April 15th, 1952. Flight 416, as helmed by Captain Lewis Powell, was flying over Turnbull Canyon when the LA International Airport would lose contact with the aircraft. The plane was expected to land in Inglewood sometime around 3:30 in the morning of the 16th. But sadly, the flight would never reach its destination. Air Control would make several calls trying to reach Captain Powell and his crew, but were met with quite literal radio silence, and a response never came. They would not have to wait long, however, to discover what had happened to Flight 416. Around 10 a.m. on the very same morning, a rancher would discover smoke rising from the hills of Turnbull Canyon. Upon climbing to higher ground, he was met with a tragic discovery. The mangled steel debris of Flight 416 engulfed in flames and smashed into the hillside. After a formal investigation, it was determined that the cause of the crash was the extremely foggy conditions. These conditions would alter Captain Powell's ability to see where he was going, and he made the decision to try to get below the fog and would navigate the plane to 10 feet below the suggested safe altitude. Powell still found himself navigating the canyon near blind and was unable to determine how close to the canyon he was. The wing of the plane scraped along the side of the canyon and it spun out of control, bursting into flames upon impact, instantly killing all 29 passengers. In the years that have followed, many visitors to the canyon have reported seeing smoke billowing out from the canyon floor and have reported hearing sounds of screaming and what sounds like bombs going off. Or, more accurately, the sound of tons of steel making contact with the hillside.
But I can assure you, Satanism is here to stay.
Between Skyline Drive and Descending Drive, the meandering path is said to lead to Hell's Gates. The dusty trail leads to a gated fence topped with rusty barbed wire, covered with signs proclaiming private property and no trespassing, as an attempt to dispel those looking to catch a glimpse of hell, but has had quite the opposite effect, as it has only proven to further entice reckless individuals into trespassing. And it's easy to see why. The looming ramshackle gates provoke curiosity, and the dense overgrowth makes it nearly impossible to see what lurks behind. Rusted chains loosely hold the gate shut. A broken warning sign swings petulantly in the breeze. It's a visual that all but begs for speculation, theories, and rumor. And where speculation is born, urban legends will thrive. Many stories have been spread throughout the years, theorizing on what the land of Hell's Gate were used for. Stories run rampant of tales of devil worship, satanic cults, and the belief that the grounds beyond the gate are littered with the skeletons of unbaptized babies that were used as sacrifices in the dark rituals occurring just beyond these gates of hell. Some also believe that on the other side of the gates hold the crumbling foundation of an abandoned orphanage that houses the spirits of those poor children who were so severely abused and neglected in life, still roaming this hell on earth, seeking a little comfort and love, so blatantly missing while they were alive. Still others believe that what once was located in this mysterious area is an insane asylum which housed numerous mentally ill patients who were horribly abused, malnourished, and neglected until the building burned to the ground. However, nothing outside the gate suggests the foundations of an asylum, with the possible exception of a protruding chimney-like structure that can only be seen in the distance. But what does lie on the other side? Are the legends so prevalent to be believed? Well, that's the beauty of a good urban legend, isn't it? The fact that we may never fully know.
Yeah, Jeff, this is certainly sad and disturbing. Investigators say they found the body of a young black girl along this trail behind me here. They're hoping to identify her soon and identify the person responsible for her murder.
While a good urban legend can lead to a fun campfire tale and a harmless scare, there have been some truly terrifying events that have occurred in the canyon area, and these events, sadly, are very much true. On October 12, 2002, a local 17-year-old girl by the name of Gloria Linda Gazzola was shot in the head on Turnbull Canyon Road before being dragged by a car to Hacienda Heights, 4 miles up the road. Her body was found at the crossroads of Hacienda Boulevard and Colomina Road. It is speculated that, unbeknownst to her killers, her foot had been stuck on a seatbelt, resulting in her body being scraped across the highway until it finally dislodged after that 4-mile drive. For 5 years, the case remained unsolved and progress stalled, until seemingly out of nowhere, an anonymous witness would come forward with details that led to the arrest of 3 suspects: Abraham Acuna, Matthew Garcia, and Victor Monge. 3 men who Gloria had been known to be friends with. 3 men who had developed a deadly obsession with a fear that their dark secret would be revealed. 3 men who would be convicted on all counts for the brutal first-degree murder of Gloria. The 3 killers had made the decision to murder the teen out of fear that she would testify against them for a robbery that they had committed. A robbery to which Gloria was the only witness. The trio had a long history of criminal activity, and with the addition of murder to their rap sheet, they were eligible for a sentence of life in prison. After the witness came forward, the men would be arrested in 2008 and officially charged with Gloria's murder. Monge would be sentenced to 85 years in prison. Garcia would be sentenced to 80 years, and Acuna to 55. But the peace of justice being served would prove to be short-lived, as the following year, on August 4th, 2009, Christine Martinez was stabbed, slashed with needles, and left to die in the canyon. However, in this instance, somehow Martinez would survive her ordeal and was able to identify her attackers as Vincent Mendoza, age 21, Edward Meraz, 24, and Jose Ayala, 27. After being given medical attention for her sustained injuries, which were, as detailed in the Whittier Daily News article, as a 4-inch laceration across her neck and numerous abrasions and head contusions, this new trio of men would be booked on suspicion of attempted murder and kidnapping. And in another striking comparison to the previous attack in the canyon, Martinez would reveal to investigators that she had thought the men were her friends. She had been traveling with the men at the time of the attack and had somehow managed to climb out of the ravine they had dumped her body into. She managed to crawl her way to the home of 90-year-old Arlene Boatwright, and it would be Arlene who would call the police and get help. Miraza Mendoza would be found guilty of kidnapping, assault with a deadly weapon, attempted murder, and conspiracy to commit murder. A life sentence was their reward. Ayala, who played a lesser role in the attack, would receive a 39-year sentence. But 3 seems to be a prominent recurring number for Turnbull Canyon, as a third woman would be the victim of attack. But in this instance, this woman would sadly not survive. On March 3rd, 2011, an unidentified woman's body was discovered hidden in one of the canyon's ravines. However, body would be an inaccurate word, as only parts of her were discovered. Reports would indicate that she was found 10 feet deep in an embankment, with her left arm missing and her body heavily decomposed. This woman remains unidentified. As horrifying as the proven true, real-life terrors of the canyon are, it is those stories that can't be proven that keep the curious onlooker coming back for more. The stories that encourage them to seek out the property for their own chance encounter. Stories like the legend of the so-called Gravity Hill, which is a reported phenomenon that occurs all over the world. Locals in the areas that have reportings of these mysterious hills state that when they are physically on the hill, you will climb without any form of aid or assistance. Cars climb the hill without applying any gas. Bikes do not require pedaling. Balls placed on the hill would roll upward of their own accord. Or what about the legend of the alleged hanging tree, from which some have said a man can be seen hanging when glimpsed from the corner of your eye, but who vanishes when you look twice. The hanging man is believed to be the spirit of a man who had hung himself in the canyon, and that he is only visible at the exact time of his death. And one of the most popular and enduring urban legends finds its origins in one couple's tale of their experience with the hanging tree of Turnbull Canyon. The story goes that a teenage couple who decided to take a drive through the canyon ended up having car troubles. The male told his girlfriend to stay in the car and not let anyone in, while he went to get help. After a while, the girl started to hear sounds on the roof of the car that resembled the sound of light rain. After several hours of waiting for her boyfriend to return, she ended up falling asleep. The next day, she was awoken by taps on the window. She glanced up and saw a police officer. The officer asked her to step out of the car, but he also uttered 3 bizarre words, acting as a request. Don't look up. The girl's curiosity would, however, get the best of her, and she would disregard the officer's advice, and would indeed look up. She would look up and see her missing boyfriend dangling from a rope tied to a branch, with his blood dripping, like rain from the sky, onto the roof of the car. Turnbull Canyon lacks nothing when it comes to tales of creepy and odd occurrences, and whether they are documented and the historical accuracy is proven, or just tales of intrigue and mystery meant to give a little scary thrill of a ghost story, one has to wonder if there may be more to the stories with so many varied tales, especially considering one thing is certain. Anyone who visits Turnbull Canyon is opening themselves up to the possibility of being party to the next great urban legend. Thanks for watching and for joining me on our little journey through the canyon tonight. Don't forget to like and hit that subscribe button And we'll see you again when the sun goes down and the campfire is lit. Until then, sleep well.